Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. Hi, I'm Joe Mishka welcoming you to another episode of Rural Heritage TV. We're back in Flemingsburg, Kentucky, where Jerry Hicks is repairing a dry stone wall. Last week we learned about dry stone wall making and got started repairing a stone fence at the edge of one of Jerry's pastures. He's got a lot to show us, so we better get going.
That's more wall than you're going to work in a day. I mean, like I said, a good mason can typically do about 9 feet a day, and that's if he's really knows his business, and I'm not there yet. So what you want to do with your string, typically you will raise that, you want to always build to the string. Don't get above the string. You'll lay those strings, you jump them up the thickness of the rock that you're using.
Okay.
So, like I've got my twine stretch there, and I would check, I draw that one tight too. I would check it for level this way, and then I would check them for level crossways so that the face, the top of my wall's running true. Well, then you set these rocks in here, you build to that string, and then we're going to want to pack from the inside rather than the out. So, you know, I'm going to get my spalls from where I've been working and chipping rock, and you want to, I go to the creek 3 or 4 times a day with a bucket and get small rocks.
Spall means?
Spall is when I work a rock to fit, like you can see here where I've dressed these faces on these rocks here. The pieces that are broken off, those are spalls. If you nap flint or something, the pieces you break off, all that chipped waste rock is spall. I don't know where that word comes from, but that's what it is. And you'll take those and you'll use them to fill in all this empty area between your rocks. Use as big a rock as you can find, you know, to fill. That's just the most economical way to do it, and it's also going to be the most substantial, most solid. And you want to lay those pieces in there. You don't want to just take gravel and pour and level it. You want to lay them and pack them. And that's going to make a more substantial, more durable wall. You're not going to have as much trouble with mice and other animals that want to make a home in this wall. You'll have less trouble with them working through. And you always want to work to the level. When this is done, and they say it's a good practice to get into, is walk on the top of that wall. If you feel rocks rolling and rocking under you, you know you need to go back and do more packing to make a good solid pack. What they told us in the courses I've taken is you lay 1 rock and pack it, you lay 5 rocks and you step back and you look. What you're looking for, you know, this isn't a real good seam right here. Ideally, that rock would set half on this one and half on that one, this rock I'm saying. And what you're doing is you're breaking these joints, covering your joints.
Right.
You want to build with 1 on 2 and 2 on 1.
Right.
Like you see.
So here you got kind of almost a seam.
Right, there's almost a seam going right there, and that's something you really want to avoid.
Right.
I think if I remember right on these rocks, I was, you know, trying to get a piece that tied in here, and it does go back that way, so
Sure.
there is tie back in there, but it just looks better to have that good face on it. You want to avoid as much as you can, like we've seen in other places, where they didn't have a rock that was thick enough. So maybe they took a rock like this and another one that had about the same size face, and they stacked them like that to make 1 rock. And sometimes you may have to do that, but what generally will happen, especially if you don't have enough length running into the wall, is, you know,
It'll slip off.
It'll roll out. So you want to avoid that as much as you can. So you build to the string. Once you get it to level, then you raise your string again about the thickness of the rock that you're working with. And like I said, depending on what style of wall you're building, with what we're doing here at 18 inches, you put those tie rocks in, and that binds both sides of the wall together and holds them in place, makes it more stable. And then once we get up to that 36, which is right here on the base of that board, that's the top of our wall, we'll cover the whole thing with flat rocks, and we want them all to be about the same thickness. And those are called the covers. It'll cover it, it'll help to keep water from running in. It adds a little more weight to the wall to make it a little more substantial. Well, once you get that on there, then we put those copes we talked about, which is these pointed, rough-topped rocks. A triangular shaped rock is really what you kind of want. You'd like them to come out about an inch on either side. If they have to fit flush, you know, it's okay, but preferably if they go a little over. So if they're about 15 inches or so across that base, coming up to about a 12-inch point, we'll lay those at a slight angle, and you want your angle going downhill, okay, rather than angling back up. And we'll set those side by side all down through here, and that'll be the finish on our wall. And that jagged edge, like I said, that helps to keep livestock going over and keeps people from climbing on the wall and things like that. So I think that's about got us to the use of the strings. And all right, we'll go down here and see what we can do about getting a foundation in this wall. And like I'd mentioned, when you go to put in your foundation, it's not like pouring a footer or a foundation under a house. Christian's got it down to a good level right here, looks like. About 3 to 4, 6 inches in our area. You don't typically need to go much more than that. You're just trying to get it down to a good solid base in here. And I think this is pretty good. We're going to lay that foundation in here, and that's going to be our biggest rock. And we're going to make that a little bit wider than what the wall is, because that foundation is going to sort of float and support that wall, ideally. So I'm going to lay this out. Like I said, we're going to go around this root here, and I need to come out about 34 inches. Well, right about. Right about in here is where we want to come to. Let's see. I don't know if that'll. What I'm trying to do here is I want to get something in here to fill this and bring this up on level. This is where my foundation is going to set, and I want to make it as level as I can. Yeah, that right there is perfect, I think. All right. Now let me see. We want these big heavy rocks for foundation rocks. And I'm actually thinking I'm gonna go get that great big triangle rock that I've been rolling all over the place. I'm gonna bring it down and put it in here, because it might actually help to give us that arc that we need. That's gonna get us about a 4.5 inch piece there. And that's going to go 24 inches into the wall. And that's a good span. You want your rocks to go about 2/3 of the width into the wall. And that gives it a good stability. And you can alternate. You know, if this one goes 2/3, that one goes 1/3. The next rock should go about 1/3, then 2/3. Let's see how we get this in here. Let me see what the other face looks like. With that going into that dirt on your foundation, it would be okay to put this down, and that's going to, hopefully is going to pack in there. When you get up into the actual wall building, it sounds counterintuitive, but you want to put your flat face down onto the wall because you want the most contact with the wall that you can get. And then you'll level the next surface and build on it, and you're just doing that as you go up. And I'm trying to save, you see me picking these little pieces like this up, and I'm not just throwing them, I'm saving these, because you will find when you start building this wall, and like we talked earlier, there's not nearly enough coring, harding in this wall. You need all this stuff to pack that back in, and you'll have a shortage of small rock. I don't think you could put enough in a wall. I don't think you can put too much in there. Okay, so all right. Now, I'm hoping that these angles are going to give us some of that curve that we're going to want to come around this way, and we'll see what we can find. So I'm going to have to fill a space here roughly 19 inches to come around this. And there again, you want your biggest, ugliest rocks that you can find to go into this foundation and build that up. Not yet, I don't think. All right, let's see. And starting off with this, I don't know, it may seem a whole lot like watching paint dry, but hopefully there'll be some good stuff coming. You don't want to put a rock on edge in a wall like you see, like say there was a rock here standing on its edge in this joint, and you see that quite a bit. It's called a shiner because it draws your eye. It pops right out of the wall. You know it's not right. But one of the things that makes it so bad is that rock. Limestone is a sedimentary rock. It's all laid on layers, and the layers are all running this way. So it can take a lot of force this way. But when you turn that up on edge, it splits really easily. And the weight of that wall on top of that, every yard of this fence at the height we're building, a 4-foot fence, a yard of it should weigh about 1.5 tons. So you've got a lot of mass and a lot of weight in there. I'm not saying that whole 1.5 tons will be on this one rock, but you're going to have a lot of weight there that can split that rock. And that might just fit right in here. If you can drop it right there, and let's see. That's probably the best face right there. Okay, let me see that here. Hang on. And that's come out of the foundation before this old wall, which that's what I was talking about earlier. I don't like these little rocks in a foundation, but where we're tying in, we kind of have to. I don't know, I may not be able to get that forced over enough to. I've got it marked. When it does come to working your rocks, one of the things that you want to avoid, and it's real tempting to do, you don't want to hammer on the wall. Don't, you know, you got this rock here and you see this knob you need to knock off. There's a temptation, well, it's laying there, I'll just knock it off. But then you've moved and dislodged every rock that you've placed. So it's not a good practice. And if you notice what I'm doing here, besides trying not to destroy this rock, which is real easy to do, you don't want to hit that with the face of the hammer. I'm using the edge.
You've seen our America's Rural Yesterday 3-book set covering life on the farm in the early 1900s. We're excited to bring you a 4th edition to the series, Early Tractors, featuring more than 250 photos of early American tractors like Alice Chalmers, Oliver, John Deere, Farmall, Minneapolis Moline, and lots more. Most of the photos are of new or almost new tractors back in the day, showing exactly how they were configured when they came out of the factory. Tractor collectors, history buffs, and folks simply wanting to reminisce about farm life in America's Rural Yesterday will love to have this book. It sells for $24.95 plus shipping. If you buy more than one book in the series, the price per book goes down all the way to $69.95 for all 4 books. To order, call toll-free 877-647-2452 or visit www.mishka.com. That's 1-877-647-2452.
Okay, I'm going to call that good, and I'm going to see what I can do about tying into this wall, and it's going to take us a little bit of time too. Before I make any kind of a form here, which like I talked about how we're going to do that, I'm going to try to tie into those 2 wall sections first. Okay. And you know, I mean, that's nothing that I did right there. That's old. That should have been packing.
Yes, sir.
And
yeah,
I can,
it's a huge cavity.
Yeah, I'm able to stick my hand up into that wall. Unfortunately, with this time of year, I'm not going to come out with a snake hanging on me, I don't think. But I say that, anything could happen. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Well, yeah, that's right. Actually, now, Christian, I think I'm going to keep these here because I know I'm going to need them all getting up into this wall here. If we can find us a good-sized rock, probably about 9 or 10 inches face, and if it's got a good slope, something that would run back in, a triangular shaped piece, or but I'd like it to be a fairly thick, heavy piece, 4 or 5 inches thick, if you can find something like that. You see, this may be what we need right here.
Triangle piece right next to your right foot.
This one here?
Nope, right next to it.
That one?
That one there.
Okay. I might try that one. If this one doesn't work, I'm thinking that might just... Well, it's gonna... Actually, I kind of like that. It gives me a lot to feel, but that's giving me the tie in to here, and I could take this. This is something too you may want to look at here. I don't know, but this is one of those continuous joints here, and it goes the entire height of this wall, which is something we really would want to avoid. Is that joint right there. So it might be a good idea to take this back a little bit. Yeah, that's what I knew was going to happen, because that was all that was holding it, was the weight of that rock right there.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Some of this is packed in here by ground squirrels, and some of it's washed in here by floods. And Christian, I hate to keep stealing off of your side, but it just looks so good. But now, ordinarily, that's if you were building a wall, you would want to keep this level all the way around,
Right.
and then go to your next level and your next level. But I'm not really able to do that and tie in here. I'm going to have to stair step that in, and then hopefully we'll get to a point that we can build across here. Now, one thing you've done right there, that, and I'm not trying to criticize you, but it's just something we need to watch, is you've got your length. That's trace walling, and we want to avoid it as much as we can. And we got this knob sticking out here too. It might work better if we put it in that way. I mean, we still got this space in here, but what we're getting is that face is also, I mean, it's following our curve, but we've got this length going into the wall, and it's going to make for a more stable, more solid building. So we want to be careful that we just keep that length running into the wall. I think that's going to get us pretty good there. We may actually, I get this hole filled, we'll go down here and look at Christian's, and then we'll be ready to put our forms up, I think, and actually start walling. I'm satisfied with that. See, there's a rock. It's got a good face right here.
Right.
It's 9 inches thick and 20 inches long. Well, you can see the moss on the outside here. That has been running the length of the wall right there at one time.
It was placed wrong.
It was placed wrong. I ought to be able to finish that out in a day. Yeah. It'd be a full day work. But I'm finding too, this was probably I know this was a very poor spot to choose as a demo like this.
Yes and no. It showed problems that you had to overcome.
Right.
Root and make it a curve.
Right.
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of Back to the Land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.